Hello, everybody. This is Dwayne, and this is our April edition with Dinner with the Devs. We have a little different of a setup. We have a nice crowd with us. This is the intern edition. So whatever questions you have about internships for video game studio, Schell Games in specific. We have our director of talent here as well, so she'll introduce herself. I'm not going to steal her thunder. And yeah, we hope to have a nice, lively stream today. And please bring your questions. So we are going to introduce everybody first, then I'll go through some housekeeping and we'll get this thing started. So let's start far side and we'll go around.
Sounds good. I'm Joey. I'm an intern on the audio art team.
I'm Trisha, and I am a game design intern.
I'm Thorin. I'm a 3D art intern.
I'm Yuna. I'm an animation intern.
I'm Edie, and I'm engineering intern.
Dwayne Marketing.
Hi, I'm Apurva. I'm the game design intern.
I'm Fonda, another 3D art intern.
I'm Addie. I'm also a game design intern.
I'm Lauren. I'm the director of talent at Schell Games.
There we go. And then we have our senior director of marketing, Jill, manning the live chat, or moderating the live chat, not quite manning. So send us your questions, and yeah, let's get this thing started. So I'll throw it up to the crowd, and let's see. Well, how about Joe? We'll start with Joey. So what is it like interning at Schell Games in a video game studio in general? And then you guys could just
Sure.
jump in after him.
Yeah, interning, I can start specifically with that Schell has been awesome. First day they treat you like a real employee. You're not going and getting coffee or anything like that or making copies. Like, they're giving you real tasks that are really affecting a product. So that's been really awesome.
I didn't pay him to say that.
That's real. That was real. I didn't rehearse it. A little.
I think for me, it's the same as you said. It's amazing to be treated like a full-time employee on your first day, and actually do work that gets into the end game, right? And the other thing that I really like about Schell is I think it's like a very fearless place to be in, because everybody's willing to try out new things, and I've never heard anyone say no to anything. There's always, let's try it out, let's fail fast and see if that works. Yeah.
I love that. Fearless.
Yeah, fearless.
Yeah, you can start using that.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, whoever can go. Go ahead, you.
Well, yeah, just kind of to echo what they said, it's been incredible being here because, like, learning from awesome people, like awesome and experienced people who've done this for a long time, who know what they're doing, and are willing to both share their knowledge and also make sure that, like, for me personally, I've been really involved. Like, from day one, I was just, like, making stuff that I was seeing go into the game, and it was really cool to see these characters, like, starting to come to life, and it's kind of mind-blowing knowing they'll be in the shipped product.
Yeah, you get a credit.
That's right.
That's definitely like first time like you see your name like in a credits or something like that. And you're like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah, I actually played the credits and stopped it and took a photo of it just to remember.
Yes.
Because it's like the first time. I really like that as interns you still get really roles which are meaningful. I think I learned so much more than I actually did during my school. Because you're kind of dealing with real-time problems. Whatever decision you take and you implement in the game will actually have a real impact, because there are lots of people out there who are playing the game. So I think I learned a lot from this internship, more than I actually did while I was studying.
And I would like to add on top of that, because I feel like all the employees, the coworkers are super helpful. Like, whenever you have something in your mind that you're not sure about, and you just like, you pose the question to whoever you want to, you ask them, and then they will be super helpful, and then help you, even like guide you step by step through it.
They're also very open to feedback, even those feedback from interns.
Yeah.
And after a month of my internship, I talked to my tech director and I said, we don't have enough communication inside the tech team. And so the director, after 1 week of talking to him, he started organizing an in-team tech buddies event where every 3 weeks he pair up engineers and we just spend an hour talking to each other.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that Sam?
Yes.
Yeah. Sam's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool. Let's see. So Pittsburgh Joe wants to ask Joe, what? Joe connection. What sound software are you using?
Yeah, we use a lot of different things here. Our primary DAW is Reaper. We use a lot of the Waves plugins as well. A few of our projects use Wise, and as well as a few internal tools that we use here. Yeah, that about sums it up. A lot of the Waves plugins, Reaper, Logic for some composition things, and then some internal tools that we've developed.
Very cool. Addie, so you didn't get a chance to answer. What's your internship experience been like?
Pretty much everyone summed it up. It's just been this crazy, awesome experience of just pretty much learning from doing and being kind of like dropped into like, here, you are now part of this huge, incredible project. Good luck. But at the same time, we also want to help you. So it's just, everyone is just really excited to share their knowledge and they're excited to see you grow. So it's just been a really great, positive experience.
I like to say we don't throw you to the wolves, but we also don't keep training wheels on longer than necessary. So you guys can make a real big impact real soon.
I also want to say something that I've really appreciated the feedback system as well that we get as interns too. Like halfway through our term
guys,
here.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we have like regular check-ins with our managers to kind of like see how we're doing and if we're encountering any problems, or they also gather feedback from the rest of the team for us so that we can know how we're doing in everyone else's eyes as well, and be given like specific points to improve on, and also be told what we're doing well, which is always really nice. And it's good to be told that like kind of on a monthly basis-ish, so that you can kind of even like see your own progress, even though this is a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, just a note about the structure for those of you on the stream that are curious. Everybody has a manager who is the person giving and organizing that feedback, and also is paired with a project mentor, because the person who is their manager may or may not be on their project team. So we kind of give you both of those people that you can talk to for lifelines. So it's definitely not me doing the work. People that are awesome and giving you the feedback, and that's something that we've worked really hard at as a studio, and is a big value for us.
And even like at least within the audio department as well, projects that other people aren't on or anything like that, hey, could you listen to this real quick? Like,
Yeah.
and they might have not seen the project or seen it yet at all, and they're going in totally naive, and they are always welcoming to give feedback, which I use that tool a lot. It's just like lean over, I'm like, hey, does this sound right? Like, what do you think about this? I use that one a lot too.
Yeah, we use feedback in a lot of different ways. There's the formal system, there's the informal stuff that happens on the floor, there's the stuff you're talking about in your team settings. We have demo day, which is an experience where you get to try out everybody else's projects, since we have 8 to 10 going on at any given point. Sometimes, yeah, we were talking earlier, you guys, not all of you have really worked with each other. You've been embedded in teams, which is great. And so giving you guys opportunities like demo day to go around and try everybody else's projects.
Cool. So I want to go a little bit deeper into, I think, Addie, I think you said it, but hey, I'm not going to go straight to you. But yeah, just you elaborate. No. So whenever you all are, put on a project, doing real work, you guys get a chance to either sharpen a skill or learn a skill. So tell us a little bit about what skills that you guys have developed while being with your project team or picked up. Let's How about Thor? You want to start us off?
Okay. So I've learned a lot about optimizing art assets and things like that. Going to school and everything like that, they're like, make everything really pretty. So you made everything pretty. You know, you've got like 4K texture maps, and you've got 7 of them. And your model is like 1.5 million polys and stuff like that. And like not just optimizing that kind of stuff, because that's sort of obvious, but understanding how the engine computes that stuff, how the graphics card computes that stuff, like orders and draw calls, things like that, and ways to reduce them, and ways to do that not just for like unique assets, but scene assets, different tactics like manipulating UVs to do certain things. If you're making an atlas, atlasing is huge, and yeah, a lot of that like really gritty, inglorious work is super important. It was really cool to learn all of that stuff, and even though I'm not like, wow, I made this amazing, beautiful thing, look at its glory, it's like, wow, look at this, it runs.
Right.
Yeah.
It's loading.
It didn't crash.
Right, yeah. Which, if it crashes, nobody sees your stuff, so.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, so that was super awesome.
Very cool.
Kind of jumping on that, practical implementation has been a huge thing I've learned as an animator here. Like, while we have in our heads, like, kind of what we want the end goal animation to look like, programmers and designers on the team can't really wait for that. Like, you have to be able to do stuff really dirty and quick, see if it works, and it might not be the prettiest thing to go into the engine at first, but then it's really cool to be able to iterate on top of that, be able to take feedback notes from design and say, here, like, this isn't working, can this be faster, or he looks like he's not really moving in this in the way that we want him to move. And it's really cool being able to take feedback from non-animation people and be able to make animations read in a way that actually does work.
Yeah, the whole working, operating thing is pretty big, right? And especially with a project that is going to ship. Like these are live projects that you guys are working on. We don't set you up with dummy projects to see how skillful you guys are going to be. And thank you, Pittsburgh Joe. I did forget to mention for our lovely interns to tell us what school they are currently attending. So how about let's start with Apurva and go around.
I study at Entertainment Technology Center, which is a department at Carnegie Mellon.
Same here. Same here. Yeah.
Can we just
Hey,
We're all
who are ETC?
We're all ETC.
Okay. Well, then not everybody's ETC.
Nope.
Addie, where are you?
Yeah, I currently take classes at the Community College of Allegheny County.
And what's the program there?
It's a mouthful.
Is it multimedia simulation and gaming?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Nice. And you also did your undergrad at Berkeley.
Yeah, I did. I have my undergrad from Berkeley College of Music, so I kind of did a shift from music to design. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, I actually met you 2 years ago, so we took along a few people.
Then Joey?
Yeah, I'm also from Carnegie Mellon, not from the Entertainment Technology Center though. I'm from the School of Music and the School of Drama.
Oh, very cool. And Thor, did you raise your hand? For ETC or UC?
I'm not ETC.
Okay.
I recently graduated from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice. Very cool. So yeah, so we have a mix. It's not just all ETC from Carnegie Mellon, and Lauren can go into
4 new schools represented in our summer class.
That's right, and we'll get more into that later. But Melissa asks.
Oh,
Hi, Melissa.
Melissa Scholler. Did I say that
Yeah,
right?
production
Okay.
intern from last year.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's right. What has been the funnest or hardest challenge of your internship? Ooh.
May, but may not be the same thing.
Oh no, it's not the same.
I know what your funnest thing is, Apurva.
Yeah, I can't can talk about it.
Yeah, go.
I think the toughest challenge for me was I came from a programming background and I had a little bit of design experience, not a ton. So I think this is a risk I took. I changed my course in the middle of the school. I changed my direction of career, and I think the biggest challenge for me was to develop the design insight. And I don't think I could have done it as I think I've done it well as I have done if I was not in Schell Games. I think there were a lot of inspiring people around me who were extremely professional and nice, where I could approach them and ask all kinds of questions I had in my mind. And they were very mindful of the fact that I was changing my field, and they guided me according to that. So I think the biggest challenge for me was this change, and the biggest takeaway for me from this internship is the fact that I can now talk design and not just tech.
Yeah, I think you've changed, you've switched.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of hybrid skill sets here and secondary disciplines
And it's celebrated here, and that's what I like.
Definitely.
They celebrate it. I like it.
Yeah, Trish, you were kind of in the same boat coming from a computer science background.
Yeah, I think I didn't even know what game design was until I took Jesse's class. So yeah, I did not have a creative background or an artistic background, but here when I came to Schell Games, I discovered that I do have a creative side to myself, and I've been using that quite a lot, and it's been really interesting because, and this might be going off topic, but because there is no crunch culture here, I've realized how important sleep has been. how much it has been helping me be much more productive than I used to be. So
Yeah, your brain is sleep deprived.
Decisions
are different. So
it's honestly like the most mind-blowing thing for me was, and Jesse teaches this in game design. He says that you have a subconscious mind that is always thinking about the problem in the background, and I never felt it when I was in school, and that's probably because I wasn't sleeping enough and getting enough rest. But as soon as I started working here, I realized like sometimes 2 days later I would have a solution, and I'm actually play testing some other game, and I realized, oh, I could solve it this way. So it's been really nice to discover that. I think that was fun for me.
Oh, that's cool.
anybody else fun or hard challenge?
For me, the most difficult thing for me was honestly my first 2 weeks here. I was super intimidated, just coming into this whole studio of like these really smart, really experienced people, and coming from a totally different background, not really sure if I knew what I was getting myself into. And then once I got through those couple weeks, I realized like these people aren't gonna eat me. And it was just like this big like eye opener. Once I got through those first 2 weeks, I was suddenly not scared anymore, and just getting through that was just a huge growing experience.
I can definitely second that.
Yeah.
I had super imposter syndrome coming into here, and it's kind of freaky, but the people here really help out. And like on the first day I came here, people were walking up to me and being like, "Hello, Thorn, I'm so and so. Welcome to Schell." And it's like,
I'm so glad.
and then like eventually you get into meetings and people will like ask you like, "What do you think?" And you're like. And like just the people here and like the culture and everything like that really helps get through that. This is the only place I have experience in the industry, so I don't know if it's like that everywhere.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps get past that. There's still that little thing in the back of my head, but it's easier to push it back and be like, "Nah, you got this."
There goes like the second day, and someone asked like for my opinion, and I was like, and then I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
But it was
I'm
awesome.
an intern.
I was, yeah. So that was definitely weird. It was a cool moment though.
And one of the feedback I got from my 360 feedback session is to talk more in meetings.
Yeah, right?
I don't care. Now to know what's going on in my head.
Yeah. But it's hard for us because we're on a huge project, so there are just so many voices. So Edie and I are always just like in the background, listening to everyone. So it's hard to hop in sometimes.
Oh, sure.
It's also especially hard in the beginning because you don't know whether
Yeah.
your thinking has been talked about.
Yeah,
before.
that's true.
Yeah, it takes a
Yeah.
bit time to understand the pipeline, how things work here, because it's so different from the way it's been handled in school.
Mhm.
But people help you out. They recognize that imposter syndrome is something which happens, and they help you address it and face it, which is really nice.
And something different about me is I'm on a smaller project, so
Mhm.
different from you guys, I got to try a lot of different stuff. I mean, I'm hired as a 3D art intern, and then I got because the first day I was here, the project hasn't officially started yet, but then I got to, hey, can you try out these storyboards? And then later during the project, like, can you make these VFX as well?
Well, you can totally do it.
Yeah.
We believe in you guys.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah. I just want to add, it's really a huge deal that somebody really believes in you this early in your career, because you're just like kind of starting off. So that is a huge positive impact going on for our own individual careers, that somebody's like, hey, I know you can do it, and they give you that space to kind of fail and then learn from it and not judge you for it.
So you feel like that freedom was like kind of surprising, or?
Yeah, kind of jumping off of what Apoorva was saying, like
Sure.
having people believe in you here is incredible. Like even just getting this internship at all, like as an animator, like I've been animating for like really seriously for a little over a year now, and it was just like.
Kyle
wait.
had no idea. One of our principal animators, like, she started animating when?
And just like kind of getting that getting the offer and then just being like, wait, did they make a mistake?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
know,
it's
like,
not
my-
beyond me to be making a mistake.
I mean,
But
my
not.
team will tell you, my team from last semester will tell you, like, I was questioning kind of my own sanity for a couple of weeks and seeing, like, if this was real. But then, yeah, just kind of getting that vote of confidence and being like, we want you here, we want you to learn, and we want you to grow here has been really incredible.
Yeah, I was telling people about you for weeks. I was like, we have an awesome animator coming in. You get excited.
That growth and like encouragement to grow is super crazy too, because at my school it wasn't necessarily encouraged. They were kind of like, all right, you want to get into the industry, you got to focus on something. And if something wasn't your focus, they're like, that was okay, go work on the thing you're focusing on now. And it's like, oh, okay. But sort of running through the pipeline and going through all the different things that production involves, sometimes people need help making concepts for something, or people need, and they're like, you're an artist, let's go. You mind helping? You mind helping with this? I could use some help with this. Can you take care of it? And if you're able and if you're positive about it, like, yeah, sure, I'll try that out. Then everybody's like, right on. And usually, if you put your mind to it, you do an okay job and you like contribute, and that's super cool to be encouraged to contribute in more dimensions than you thought you might have.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that focus is sometimes necessary for other game studios, but maybe not ours.
Yeah,
We
right.
value that flexibility and that hybrid skill set. So you could go to studios and you just want to make the best possible boulder ever, and you want to really focus on sculpting it, and you do that for the next 10 years. And that is not what you guys have experienced, which it's not for everyone, but that's why through the screening process, we look at for people that can be flexible and have that growth mindset. That's super important, because we're all always learning all the time.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I think you put it very well. It's not just what you can do, but what you can learn to do as well, because
Yes.
you're asked to do a lot here, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's really cool, that it's like, okay, you're right here, how can we get you to, point B, and then after point B, oh, look, here's point C, how can we get there,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that's a cool place to be. See, Pittsburgh Joe wants to know, so he already knows what type of tools you use. So let's go, so we can do two ways. What tool are you using, and if you are working on a AR or VR project, so we can kind of combine two of the questions that we got. Go ahead, Addie.
I'm currently working in Unreal Engine, and I'm not working in an AR or a VR project. It's a location-based
Interactive
interactive
experience.
experience.
All right.
And do you
I'm.
Yep.
I'm working on a location-based VR project. The tool that I'm using mostly is Substance Designer and Substance Painter. Those are the two tools that I use because I need to make a lot of textures for the environments. Other than that, Maya definitely, and sometimes ZBrush for some high detail poly normal maps.
And your project is in Unity on Oculus?
Yes.
I'm working on a VR project, and I use Unity Engine and a proprietary visual scripting tool that's developed by Schell Games.
Yes. I can say that.
I wasn't sure, sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, that was a tool we made several years ago, and it's been very powerful for
Yeah.
designers.
Yeah, I'm on the same team with Addie and also working on this location-based interactive experience.
Yeah,
I use
Unreal.
Unreal as a game engine, and as an engineer, I work mostly with C++ and use Blueprint sometimes, very little. And I'm also making a analytics tool as part of the work, and that's using the web technology like JavaScript and HTML.
I'm working on a VR game, and we use Maya for animation, and the game itself is being built in Unity.
I'm working on a VR title, and I don't know if I have a primary software that I work in. Unity and Maya are probably just edging out the other plethora of softwares that I jump around to, but yeah, those are the big ones.
I am working on a VR game, and I use Unity 3 and Schell Games visual scripting tool.
And I'm working on a location-based VR game in Unity, working with mostly Reaper.
Quite the combos, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Got all kinds of variety here.
Yeah, doing a little bit of everything. Cool. Let's see, Joey Z. Hey, Joey. Good to see you, man.
Hey, one of our new interns. I think that's Joey Z.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I think so.
Okay.
He was in the firm
So he asks, and some of you may have touched on this, but if you haven't, you can jump in here. What is something that surprised you about working at Schell Games? So we talked a little bit about the freedom, talked a little bit about being able to contribute to a real life project. But what else? What else surprised you that might looking back, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't really expect that.
Or if you could tell yourself day one,
Right.
what would you tell yourself? The
Yeah.
knowledge you have now.
I was surprised by the amount of social groups and professional development groups, like two types of groups. We had so many of them. Like we had a lot of people playing board games every
Yep.
lunch.
A lot of social groups, yes.
Yeah, and there are also talks inside the studio. Like every Thursday or every other Thursday, people talk about a game
Mhm.
and
Games.
yeah, games. And we
It's like a
had-
book club for games.
Yeah, we had Awesome Tuesdays where we
Mhm.
watched GDC videos together.
And Addie ran it the last 2 weeks. Yeah, the guy who ran it went on vacation this week. Like, Addie, you can do it.
I sit next to him, so
Right,
he's
yeah.
here.
Oh, so that was an easy handoff. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you did cut you off there.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, we have multiple D&D groups that
Mhm.
exist in the same world that happen all simultaneously. One has been going for like 12 years.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't
there's
know that.
yes, a few people that have been here from the beginning are in a group that is just ongoing. And we have one of our narrative designers is an amazing dungeon master, and he runs Jared. Yeah,
Jared,
yeah, he has created this whole world. So there's a ton of social groups. There's way more than you can get involved in if
Yes.
you want to do everything. So you gotta pick and choose.
And kind of jumping off of that, what also surprised me was the number of people here who also do side projects and are
Yes.
like
Thanks.
just how encouraging Schell is of people doing side projects here. Like, it's pretty awesome. Just being able to take time out of, and also, I don't know if I can say this, studio resources?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like not
That's
only
a
are
thing.
you encouraged to do side projects, but you are also encouraged to use the studio resources to do so. It's pretty awesome. I haven't had a chance to do much of it myself, but it's really cool to see what other people have built. There are also like monthly-ish groups that also like push each other to be creating and learning new skills in their own time as well.
Yep.
Yes. What does LERP stand for? Something
Learning.
repeatable prototype.
Learning.
Learning.
That's all I
Usable.
Usable, yes. Learning
Yeah.
usable, repeatable prototyping.
Ah.
Yeah. So yes, I think that's what it is.
It's either repeatable or rapid.
Maybe rapid. That makes more sense.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
Yeah,
rapid,
rapid
because it's on a
probably.
monthly basis.
Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
it's-
And it's a prototype.
Yeah.
And it's a
Sure.
prototype, yeah.
Yeah.
We're big about rapid prototyping
Yes.
in Schell Games.
And learning.
And learning, and using what we
And
learned.
using it. That's how it works.
Change the studio name to LERP.
Yeah, that's right, LERPing, yeah.
What surprised me the most was that there's a work-life balance here, that you're encouraged to leave the office.
Yeah, no, I'll kick people out.
Yeah. And that was so surprising when I
In a nice
came.
way.
Yeah. You're like, can you please go home?
We want you to
There's
stay.
life
We want
outside.
you to-
Our
we want
first
you
day
to-
here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wait, what
Yeah,
happened
our
your
first
first?
day?
No,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
like I stayed at 5 or something, and then Laura.
Yeah, your first day you get so much information. You're
Yeah.
so overwhelmed. Like
Yeah.
you need time to process and have your brain absorb it all.
Yep.
So
Yeah, yeah, it was such a pleasant surprise that I didn't know that a game studio can have a work-life balance and actually give it the amount of attention it deserves. So that really blew my mind that people actually, I go back and I sleep, like Trisha was mentioning earlier, or do whatever, just have a life. And it's an extremely pleasant shift from school when you're just
Yeah.
doing everything but having a life outside. Which, whatever, it deserves it. When you're in grad school, it's just how it is. But
Yeah.
it's been a really, really good, pleasant surprise that I can have a life.
I think those two are important together too. You wouldn't be able to do your own stuff, and if you didn't have that time that we protect outside of the studio, and that's super important for us. The anti-crunch culture and making sure that people are having a sustainable workload over a long period of time because we care about retention. We want people to stay and to not be burned out. So, and then it would be disingenuous of us to say, oh no, you can't work on stuff that you love outside of the studio. So, no, please do create your
I think it also makes us really efficient
Mm.
because you're working for a set time, you're focused, and then you go back and you disengage yourself from that. So I think it also makes you very efficient in your work.
Yeah, I mean, you need breaks, right? Yeah, breaks are good. Let's see.
Kind of,
Yeah,
just
go
really
for it.
quick, jumping back to the something we learned question that I forgot to bring up earlier too.
Yeah.
Workflows, like practical workflows of just like understanding how to best use the tools to get to the thing that you need to the quickest has been like one of the most important and I think powerful skills that I'll be taking with me from here because it's really important to be able to do things in a timely manner and having that anti-crunch culture is something that really enforces like be efficient with your time and learn the value of other people's time as well. So, yeah.
And with the workflow, being able to do that in a way that it's, like do your work in a way that it's easily passed to other people on the team. And-
dependencies.
Yeah, especially with the quick iteration that you go through.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, I'm gonna make a block out and then I'm gonna make like a first pass and a second pass. And having those pipelines like dug out, and then just being able to like push content through that smoothly is so crazy. Because like you can communicate in student projects and stuff like that, but the sort of the relaxed kind of environment that this is, rather than a student project where it's like, okay, it's in the engine, go. All right, we're doing this. Okay, you did that, good. All right, you need to update this. I guess you go find the file wherever you put that. So like just being able to like chill out and be like, okay, I need to plan this out and then execute it in a really solid, logical way. Is definitely a huge.
I got
one.
hit by a bus. Other people could find.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. Do you have any advice for upcoming interns for Schell Games, for people who hope to apply in the future? What advice do you have? All right, so while you think on that, see, Ryan B asks, hey Dwayne. Hi Ryan, good to see you. How many projects are being worked on at any given time? Between 8 to 10, and I think we're closer to 10 to 12 for this period right now. Studio's super busy, we're humming along. Until You Fall seems like a flagship. Until You Fall is our virtual reality sword fighting, melee, roguelike game.
Yeah.
But there sounds like there are a lot of different games and projects happening. Yes.
You are correct.
Yeah, you would be correct, yeah. So we do have a lot of resources dedicated to Until You Fall, but we are very diverse in the projects and experiences that the studio is developing and designing. And yeah, I mean, as you can see here, everybody's working on
With
Four?
Forward, and then Joey, you're kind of on a lot of different
Right.
things.
Yeah, so-
Five or six projects represented here.
Yeah.
Should we talk about core art? Briefly, yeah. So, as a sound designer, I'm part of a team which we call Core Art, which is a team that is pretty widely shared across multiple projects. So, it's instead of being, steadfast on one project for a very long time, I might be jumping back and forth a little bit as I'm needed.
Mhm.
In our Core Art, we have sound, we have animators, riggers,
FX,
FX. I think that's
tech art.
tech art. But yeah, so that's a little bit about that.
Yeah, and as an animator, I'm also part of the core art team, but I've also been lucky enough to be committed to one project my entire time here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We try to do that for interns.
Right.
We try not to move you around too much. So.
Good
Sorry,
stuff.
Joe.
No. All right.
Nature of the audio developer.
All right. Now, since you guys had some time to think about it, we'll go back.
Words of wisdom for future interns.
I've got one.
Go for it.
Soft skills. Soft skills are just as important as any of your technical skills. You can be amazing at whatever you do. You can be the best 3D modeler in the world and make transformers that turn into like floating ducks. But but like if you can't communicate with your team, or if you're not a pleasant person to work with, then nobody's going to want to work with you. And that's a massive part, and it takes just as much practice. It's not. Some people are naturally charismatic, but if you just talk to people, don't hound them. But if you just talk to people you know, people online, stuff like that, get people's advice, whether they're in the industry or not. Just talking to people over and over again about your work will definitely hammer out some of the personality quirks that we all kind of have, and that makes you an easier person to work with, and that's absolutely huge for working with teams in a collaborative fashion.
Yeah, I love that you said it's a skill you can build, because
Yeah.
that's what I talk about a lot, and that's the other half of my role is figuring out how to best support the studio and giving them resources in building those skill sets. I could not really help you in your technical fields, but it's really important, and that's That's something I'm really passionate about.
You're also helping us, like you're building the project. Can you talk about that?
I'm sorry.
Like a list of resources we can use.
Yes, Project
in our
Hogwarts,
area.
yeah. No, that's not secret, it's just not live yet. 'Cause I'm hiring all these people. So it's an early access for engineers, so, and some artists. Trey's been using it, so.
Yeah, so I asked the same question to one of our designers before John Schell, and his answer was pretty simple. Just two words: is to be helpful. And I think it's especially important as an engineer, as a majority of my time just went to helping my teammates figuring things out, fixing stuff, or making tools for designers. And it also makes you a better teammate to work with, just to be helpful.
Yeah, building relationships is super important.
I also feel one thing that helped me was to be open to feedback. I'm very fortunate to be in a place where there is so much importance and emphasis given to feedback, because that's the only way you grow. So you should have an open mind to accept feedback and work on it. And also, I think Schell Games has a very professional way of giving you feedback. Like they don't say, this was like shit, you did a shit job. Like they have a way to like tell you both your positives and negatives. So I think what helped me was I reacted to the feedback really quickly, whether your team is giving you feedback or whether someone who's sitting next to you is just looking into your work and you can ask them, hey, is it fine? Am I doing okay? What is this? Or is it something you don't understand? So I think it's very important you are open about feedback in general, because this is the place to be open about feedback, because it really, really helps you.
I mean, I know you were starting to say something. I want to come back to you. But that was something that was a really big challenge for me when I started. I've been here for 4 years, and I never really had anyone giving me feedback prior to coming here. And I tended to be very sensitive and took it very personally because I want to do a good job. I find a lot of worth and value in my professional life and my career. And so that's a skill that I have learned to build, is being open to accept feedback. And now I proactively seek it out. That's something that I try to encourage everybody in the studio to do, because I want something to have holes poked in it as much as possible, because ultimately it's going to be a stronger product, whether that's Project Hogwarts or anything I'm launching or an email I'm sending out to the studio. I ask a lot of people to look at it because I want to get their perspective and their feedback before I ship it. So, yeah.
I just think it's a life skill. It's not just in your work. Learning how to take feedback is something that will help you just in life in general.
And everybody wants everyone to grow too.
Yeah.
Like understanding that it's coming from a good place of helping was helpful for me. Like understanding no one's trying to tear me down and giving me this feedback. They're invested in my growth and my future here.
My advice, it's kind of like stereotypical, but just put your fears aside. Honestly, like I almost talked myself out of even applying for this internship because I was so scared. And really you just have to be brave and just don't be scared to put yourself out there. And even in like a workplace, don't be afraid. Like I used to be afraid to, like I was worried about interrupting people with their work and going to them to ask for things, but really it's better to approach people. So it's just best to work through your fears and just kind of be brave. And even like whenever, if you see something that you need to get done and you're not sure about it and you're kind of nervous about it, just try and don't be too afraid to, like, don't talk yourself out of doing things, and don't talk yourself out of getting help and talking to people, and just go for it. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Be brave, a Schell Games principle.
That's right, that's right.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think one of my piece of advice, as a sound artist, and I'm sure the visual artist can speak to this a little bit, the hardest part for me a few years ago was getting my reel started. And that was the hardest part of the reel, is just starting it. And it's tough, especially when you're younger, because, I don't have the projects, I'm not actively working. But there's always ways to start a reel, and there's always ways out there to show your work and display your work. And that's obviously one of the biggest challenges of applying to a job in this field. And Schell's obviously not the only people that are asking for your reel. Everywhere you apply is probably going to ask for a reel.
Portfolios, a good portfolio
Yeah.
sets you apart. It
Yeah.
definitely does. I've looked at thousands of applications, so.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping on that, my piece of advice was be positive and be active on social media, because I am convinced that like one of the ways that I've been getting noticed as an animator is because I put both stuff I complete and my works in progress on Twitter, because I just want to share like, hey, I am an animator and I'm trying to learn as much of this as I can, and here's how I'm practicing and here's what I'm doing. And I've been able to meet a lot of really, really awesome people through social media sites. Find the online communities that will help you and give you feedback, especially as you're building your portfolio. There are always people who are willing to give their opinion on the internet, so
Surprise!
so find those communities, find those people, and start asking questions. Like, yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I can say is the more online visibility you have, like with your reel, with your portfolio, and like also show. I think like a part of the reason why I was able to start the kind of application process here was also because I actually reached out initially and asked Kyle, one of the animators here, about if there were like any animation internship openings through a 3D animation Discord channel that we're both a part of. And so like he's seen me ask questions, he's seen my works in progress, he's seen me ask for feedback, and then yeah, so then when I actually reached out to him to ask, he already knew who I was, or like he already recognized me and knew I was a student from the ETC. So yeah, like being active and being out there will help you get recognized.
Yeah, and I do, definitely, my next thing was going to talk about portfolios, because I think
Great
that,
segue.
yeah, that was a wonderful segue, so thank you. They totally weren't cute either, so this has been so good. So what tips have you received about building a good portfolio? How did you make your portfolios, stand out? And maybe Lauren can talk a little bit too about how, your portfolios have stood out. Let's see, you brought up the reel, so if you want to kind of
Yeah.
get started.
So in my reel, I try to portray a wide variety of work. VR, non-VR, film, I try to do as much as possible, sound art projects that I've worked on, just to show that I do have a wide variety of not only skills but interest. I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm not just straight looking down at VR video games. Also on my reel, on every different shot, I put the title of the project, and what I did on that.
Yes.
So if I only did sound design, I didn't do the mix on the project, I try to notate that. If I did sound design and music, I try to notate that.
Yes,
And,
be
yeah.
specific about what your work is. Don't take credit for other people's work.
Yeah.
So,
That's probably the biggest thing. As a sound designer, I tried my hardest to make my reel one long, interesting arc, because that's kind of the job of a sound designer a lot of times is tying two scenes together. So I took a lot of time mending each clip together and trying to make them sonically interact strong.
I also feel like, oh, go ahead. Oh, sure. I also feel like it's important to keep a balance between showing off your strongest skill, which is your focus, as well as your other skill sets, which will greatly help you during the entire your work time. Because there's always accidents or like problems that happening or like something that you have to face that you're not prepared for. It's always good to have something, not just your focus, but something else that kind of like relates to your main focus as well.
I think one of the most important things when you're also putting together your website too is make sure it doesn't take more than 1 or 2 clicks to get to any of the important information. Like have your
Yep.
portfolio in one tab that's like easily searchable, make it visually easy to see like this is what the project was, this is what you worked on. And also like another click to like your demo reel on your homepage, contact me, like any of the important relevant information, like make sure it doesn't take anyone like Lauren more than 1 or 2 clicks to find whatever she might be curious about.
It's also a suggestion I got from one of my UX friends is try to put everything on the same page. So not just the visitor don't need to click on the thing, they don't need to scroll down, they can just have anything once they open on their page.
Yeah, top fold.
Yeah.
Top fold newspaper. Top fold of your website. UI UX design.
Having, I guess, layers to it. So you want a lot of your work to be out there, and this kind of goes with the social media thing. How you display that is important. If something's going in your portfolio, it's really important to curate that, especially if you have a focus. Like if you are I focus hard surface 3D modeling. So my portfolio is hard surface 3D modeling, and it's the best work that I've done. And it's work that I've asked other people about, and it's curated and it's concise. But you can have layers. So if you have a blog or if you have like a Twitter or something, it's important to include that feed, but have it clearly separate from your portfolio. So people can go, oh, they're continuously working on this thing. This stuff isn't in their portfolio, but they're working on it. It's a work in progress, or they're exploring a new skill. That kind of thing is super important, so that whoever's looking at your website or scouting you out knows that you're active. And that,
I love blog sections. Like
Yeah.
that if I could shout that from the rooftops, I think that's a great way to showcase challenging problems you've had to solve, because that is something that is very important to us in the interview process is what problems are you really proud of solving and how did you get there? So not just that curated end product, but how did you get there? Blogs are a really great way to do that, and also to show works in progress and keeping them active. So I look at your blogs, I read your blog posts, and that's something that I'll bring up in your interview. So be prepared to talk about it.
Speaking of interview,
Yeah.
it's great practice for one too.
Yeah.
If you write a blog,
Yes.
it's a great way not just to show other people what you do, but to catalog it yourself and sort of run through it as you're writing it down. You're making it more concise, and you're speaking to a group of people about the work that you do. So when you go into an interview, you know more what to say. You're like, okay, I've already run through the asking a question about this project. I've already written a blog about it.
Right,
Do you
yeah.
want me to I can tell you all about it?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to really organize your thoughts and stuff like that. So.
I think also just quick note to jump on top of that. Also, I think it's important in an interview to say when you don't know something and follow that up with how you would learn to do the thing, or who you would seek out to figure out how to help you do the thing.
Or even researching it after and following up in an email and say, hey, you really made me think. Here's what I would do. Love that. Shows proactivity.
There you go. Good deal. Let's see. So, let's go a little bit more with Lauren. So what other aspects about a portfolio do you look for?
Usability and ease of processing the information is helpful. Sometimes our ATS is a little wonky, so having your resume in a PDF form linked there is helpful. If you have a YouTube video channel or something, if your portfolio, if there's a section of it that's password protected, making sure that it's easy for me to find your password either in a cover letter or something, or send it along, that's helpful, because I understand that not everything can be out there for the world to see, but if I have to follow up with you and say, hey, what's your password for your portfolio, that just adds another layer to the process. Making sure your website's active. I've had a lot of people put links that don't work or are broken, and it's sometimes I'll go back to that candidate and ask them for a working link. Sometimes I will move on, so it just depends. If you built your website, that's great to know too. It's not a requirement, but it's just another element of personal branding that I can see and evaluate. So everything that you put out there under your name, for engineers, having a GitHub repository, having samples of code, having GIFs where you're screen capping things that you do in Engine. Those are really impressive, and being able to clearly identify what technologies you've used, what versions, what exactly you did. All of that is just helpful information for me to know if you're going to be able to be a good fit here.
To jump on that, Super Voodoo, good to see you again. One of our loyal watchers. For game designers, what else is there to making a game stand out on your portfolio besides it being a good game? Does anyone bother reading patch notes to see how you iterated on your game? And I would say probably yes.
Yes. I'm not sure what patch notes are. Is that just you're annotating when you release a patch?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I read all of that. Updates, like I said, tracking something over time is really important. That is, to me, even more important than what degree you have, what school you came from. Because just because you came from a certain school or program doesn't mean that you were actually doing the work in that program or excelling in your program. So being able to identify what specifically you did, yeah.
And I think, like, as a game designer, it's because a game designer is supposed to have attention to detail. It's important that, so it shouldn't be like a long page of things that you did, but there should be a way to access that long page if someone
Yes.
wants to go a step further.
You have the TLDR, and then you have the full documentation somewhere else, so, and easily navigable between the two.
Perfect.
I think too, just one other thing
Yeah,
about, for game designers, they are not the idea people necessarily. Harley always says this, you guys know, you've heard her say that. They are the ones that are sourcing and being able to gel the team, the kind of the connective tissue of getting everyone on the same page, making sure that everyone's ideas are heard, and kind of galvanizing the team towards a shared vision. And that the level of responsibility and area of responsibility and impact increases as you're on more leadership roles in the project. But having collaborative work shown on your portfolio. Did you work in a team? And sometimes it's hard to find people to work in a team together, but if all you have is solo projects, go find a game jam. Go talk to people on forums. Yeah, there's a lot of passionate game developers out there. There's people that'll try anything with you. So having that cross-discipline collaboration and having that demonstrated in your portfolio is really great.
Excellent. Cool. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. We were talking, off camera, and not a lot of you are from Pittsburgh, or some of you are in different places of Pittsburgh that you haven't experienced before. So how has now being here for a couple weeks, outside of school, what is it like?
I mean, it's cold most of a lot of months in the year. But when it's actually beautiful, it's really beautiful. It's a city with a lot of good food places. That's what I observed. There are lots of streets full of restaurants, all kinds of cuisines. That's really nice, and it's mostly like a college place because there are lots of universities, so there's a lot of like energy, a lot of people, which I like. But also you'll find places where it's kind of quiet, neighborhoods which are quiet, if people prefer that. So I think there is like a fine balance, but I don't like the cold. But I layer up, so it's fine.
It's like once you suffered every winter, you can experience the summer better.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. We have variety, is
Yeah.
what I like to say.
I appreciate the sun
Yeah.
so much now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in India, I'm like, why are people everywhere outside just being so crazy about like sun so much? And now I'm like, I know.
I get
know
it.
what. Yeah.
I've been here for a few years, so I'm a little used to it, but there is a ton to do here. I come from a very small town in South Wisconsin, it's like just over 1,100 people, and there are no stoplights in my school. So coming here, there's just so much to do. Like, I have trouble making space for things to do in my schedule. Especially here with all of the social groups like we were talking about. It's like, I can do this, I can do this. Oh, no. Oh, no,
Only
I need
24
to
hours
sleep.
in a day.
Yeah, and it's there's just so much activity, and getting around and finding like new hobbies or new things to explore is really easy. And I think that's also like super important, getting out and experiencing like new things, because sometimes I do something outside of work and that I hadn't done before, and I come to work like, what about this? And it's cool. It's refreshing and super active.
There's something for everyone here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's all kinds of, like there's a ton of sports here. So if you want to go to a ball game, you can do that. Or
Pittsburghers love their sports.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's me in a nutshell.
Or if you like to, if you're a foodie, like Aporto said, there's all kinds of food places around here. There's dog parks, there's parks, there's there's a huge disc golf community here. There's
Another thing I'd add to your list.
Shenley and South Park. They're all over the place, yeah.
Bike trails popping up all over the place.
yeah, there's like axe throwing.
Sure
like,
is.
there's just
Sure
axe
is.
throwing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah.
just a little bit of everything here. There's always just cool things to find.
It's also a really, really rich art scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite,
Definitely.
I think often, people don't give it the respect it deserves. There's a lot of museums in the area. The Pittsburgh Symphony is one of the best symphonies in the world. They just won a Grammy last year.
They did, yeah.
So like the art scene here is also really, really, both contemporary and kind of classical, visual, there's a lot going on.
You can see concerts like every night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of really good ones too. A lot of really big acts come through the city with the music sure thing.
It's a smaller big city with a lot of amenities. There's
Yeah.
it's made up of a lot of little neighborhoods, and because it's smaller, you can visit. You're not landlocked to whatever neighborhood you plant yourself in. So it's very easy to explore the city.
There's like so many bridges.
Yeah.
I actually really like that
The
about it.
architecture is beautiful.
I
here.
like where Schell is as well
Mhm.
because of how easy it is to just get onto the bridge and walk to the other side.
Yeah, and you're downtown.
Downtown,
10
yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
Boom.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
10-minute walk. So.
I like to think of it as a good starter city. Like if you've never lived in a city before, this is a good place to go.
Yeah, it's also affordable too.
Yeah.
I think it's a range. Like you can also find super fancy houses to also like student level affordable prices
Yeah.
also. So I think that's pretty good. And they're good houses, I think.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Joe asks, what transportation do you use to get to the office? And I think that kind of coincides about Pittsburgh because you could do multiple.
Oren's gonna bike soon.
That's
Oh, yeah, I
right.
just
Yeah.
repaired my bike. So we have like a bike rack, so that's super nice. I heard about that and I'm like,
I wanna work here.
You guys carpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The three of us live in Squirrel Hill, and I have a car, so we end up carpooling.
And we pay for your parking.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Pay for
nice.
fast pass.
That's so there you go. Many ways to get
The
to.
T, some people take the T
Yep.
in, our light rail system from the
Right.
south,
Right.
depending on where you live.
I take
Yeah.
the T sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's nice to have the option.
Yep, it's easy to do. Super Voodoo asks, what's the best place in town to grab a burger?
Oh boy.
Oh, this is a hot debate.
Ooh.
This is a hot debate.
I like Burgertory.
Yeah, me too.
In a second.
I love
and they have killer
burgers.
shakes.
Yes.
Those shakes will put you to
That's
They
sleep.
have
Maybe this
heavenly
isn't a hot
shakes.
debate, but I have a hot
Heavenly
take.
shakes. What's that?
I like Five Guys, which
I
is
like
a
Five
chain,
Guys
but
too.
Five Guys is so good, and I like it better than Burgatory.
Oh, wow.
Actually, they have a better vegetarian burger if there are
Okay.
any, whoever few vegetarians out there.
Well,
Five Guys vegetarian burger is really good.
Yeah.
Have you tried Burgatory's Impossible Burger though?
It's
No.
good.
Hard Rock is a
Impossible
burger.
burgers.
I think that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I like Burgatory, but I'm trying to think what if there's a
Casaros,
local
we're
place.
swears by
Mountains.
Casaros.
Sorry.
BRGL.
Yes, BRGR.
BRGR.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's waffles.
Burgatory is pretty solid.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Burgatory you can build your own, which is cool.
Yeah.
And the shakes are amazing.
Oh,
I
That's
just
low.
go for the shakes.
I have to get one or the other when I
I
go
know,
there.
yes.
Because I've tried getting both,
Yeah.
and by the end I'm like, oh.
But I
Guys,
love,
can
yeah.
you carry me home?
Right, for
I always
sure,
end up
food
taking my
coma,
burger
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Love Cajun fries at Five Guys though.
Mm.
And feed 'em.
They've got the vinegar.
Got everything, everything you could want to put on your burger. So
Yeah.
good.
Interesting. I'm trying to think because, I mean, usually I go the fish and chips route or the shepherd's pie, so I go to Piper's.
Piper's is
on
good.
the South side.
Piper's is good.
Piper's is pretty, it's
Yeah.
pretty
I
solid.
mean, there's so many different types of food.
There really are.
There's
yeah.
always new restaurants popping up. We were the #1 food city by Zagat's in
Right.
2016.
Yeah. And just in 2018, we were named one of the best cities for coffee.
Oh, I missed
Especially
that
for,
one.
For specialty coffee.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
One of the most livable cities. So.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's got a lot going on. Cool. Let's see. So, oh, yeah, I always like asking this to our intern class. What games are you guys playing right now?
Sekiro.
Yeah?
Yep, that's a big hit right now. That's something that I want to share so badly.
Yeah.
And I play so badly. Yeah, it's hard, super hard, but it's fun. Like, I enjoy games that have difficult bosses,
Mhm.
boss fights. Once you accomplish that, you feel like you can reach the climax of your life.
You beat the boss, you're like, yes.
Yeah, all downhill from there.
Oh, that's funny.
And like the other end of that spectrum, recently I've been playing the early access version of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, which is kind of insane and wonderful. Yeah, basically you put it's red versus blue. You can either play like pre-designed levels or literally just like, do you want to see what happens when you put 1,000 hobbits against a mammoth? Which,
That is amazing.
yeah, it's
Yes,
pretty awesome.
I do. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My poor computer. It went to like 1 frame per second, but we got to see what happened.
It's like a slideshow of the battle.
Yeah, but it's pretty great. It's very entertaining.
Total battle.
Totally accurate battle simulator.
And all of their like movement and stuff is
It's all
procedural.
ragdoll.
Isn't it procedural or
Yeah.
something? They look like
Yeah.
when people get drunk in the GTA games.
Yeah,
And they like
pretty much.
stumble around and it's like really janky and then they fight and it's just
Oh, yeah.
goofy as heck.
And also it's really cool because they've also started adding like gods, so now we have like Zeus and Valkyries just like kind of derping around with googly eyes. It's pretty great. Yeah,
That's
it's a pretty awesome game. My roommate and I have made a drinking game out of it.
Totally accurate. I'm gonna look this up. I'm super excited. Cool. Any other games you're playing?
I've been playing the early access of Risk of Rain 2. And
Well, I play that too.
yeah, it's good. The first one's a pixel art game, so and the second one is in 3D. It's sort of a remake of the first one if it were in 3D, which is really cool to see the things that they do because it's crazy how much like adding a dimension adds to a game and takes away from it, and it's really tough to do that kind of thing. So seeing how they tackle that and how they add like the characters that were in the first game and how they try to replicate the art style, which I think they've done a pretty darn good job of. But it's like this roguelike game, and it's cooperative, so it's fun to play with friends.
Cool.
What were people playing at lunch today?
Oh, they were playing Overcooked.
Oh,
Oh,
Overcooked.
That's such a fun game.
It was
That's funny.
quite rowdy in the lunchroom today on the Switch.
That's funny. Yeah, Overcooked, it's been out for a little while. Yeah.
They came out with the second one.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I know Dave Bennett used to stream
Aw.
playing
Space
Overcooked.
Pirates. Space Game? What's it he has like a space pirate king name. You work with him.
I just call him Dave.
That is his name.
That
is his name. Yeah.
In Discord, it's Chupa Dave, I think.
Chupa Dave.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
has a nickname from Orion Trail, but I
Yeah.
can't remember it, so it's a terrible story.
All right, so we are going to be wrapping up with some questions with Lauren, our Director of Talent, about the hiring process and if we're currently hiring, and if we are, you know, what that process is. So if you have any other questions that you want to ask about the internship process or to our interns specifically, what they're doing, get them in now. So Lauren, can you describe the internship hiring process at Schell Games in terms of, you know, when do we get interns in, if the next class, when the next class is coming in, all that good stuff.
So we just finished building our summer internship class. It's very exciting. As you can see, we have a lot right now. It's a very big class. Spring is a big class for us. And we try to stay more local, just because it's harder for some students to come from out of town during the school year and can't commit to a full 40-hour work week. Some schools only allow 20 hours during a school semester. So I try to keep those summer internships open for out-of-town schools. And I think our summer class, we have students from Rensselaer Polytechnic, Cal State Long Beach. We have a student from Northeastern, and I know I said that early, but I was wrong. Oh shoot, I just typed it earlier today. Anyway, if you're out on the stream, I'm sorry. I do know you. I emailed you today. But we're very excited to have our summer interns. We have some game designers and audio intern. And fall tends to be probably our lightest class, but we are very cyclical. So we have a spring class, a summer class, and a fall semester. And so I usually try to finalize our fall class by July. So it's by the time the next class is starting on site, I'm now starting to build the next class. So I do post actively if we have openings. And then I publicize those on our website, our social media, email them out, and I try to put the dates of the application deadline and the dates of the internship in the application now. And then, what am I forgetting? I don't know, anything else you want to know about? Oh, sorry, this is what I wanted to say. If there's not an opening on there, you can always apply to future internship general submission. You do have to be an intern to be an intern here, or you have to be a student to be an intern here. Of course you have to be an intern to be an intern here. You do have to be a current student in a program. Right. We do have other options for people that are not students. We have fellowship opportunities. A lot of those are postgraduate, and generally they're 6 months longer. And it's a really good way for us to assess people who don't have the professional experience yet. So it's a really good option for people that are not students. So don't worry if there's never, or if there's not an opening for you posted, you can apply to one of those. Just please note that you're not guaranteed a response if you do not apply to an active post. I do look at those when we have openings that come up first before I post anything. So that's how we get to that general submission. It's a really good place to give us your information.
Perfect, yeah, and that's really important to say, because there are other companies that put a bad rap that if there's a general submission that people don't look, but
yeah,
we
I know, they go to my
actively-
inbox, I get them every day.
Yes.
I just cannot respond to all of them.
Yes.
So,
Because
but
how many in a typical month do you get?
hundreds, so it's a lot.
A lot, yeah.
But they do go directly to my inbox, and so when we have an opening, I'm able to search through our data pool. And like I said with Addie, I interviewed her years before we hired her. So I do take a long view of candidates. So just because it's a no now or a not doesn't mean it's a no forever.
Perfect. Dan the Duck Live, we did get some questions in. Dan the Duck Live, I love it. As someone interested in pursuing 3D art and animation, what kind of software or workflows are most helpful to look into. So for our 3D artists and animators, what type of software are you guys working on right now?
Maya. If you're a student, Autodesk does give you a 3-year student license. Use it. Maya is industry standard, and so it's very important to know how to use it.
What version of Maya are you using?
Oh, I think we're using 2018 now, but each version of Maya comes like with its own quirks and stuff. But I will say those quirks actually don't really become relevant until you actually do have that basic understanding of Maya, which all versions of Maya have. So learn Maya.
And I also feel like it's different depending on what kind of games or your target
sure.
visuals are.
Absolutely.
For example, if you're really wanna heading towards like AAA standard or like hyper realistic style, then definitely go for Substance Designer, Substance Painter. They're really good at creating hyper realistic textures. And then ZBrush definitely. And if you're going to for stylistic, it's rather different, but we kind of still blend like these softwares together, depending on how we want to handle the pipeline. But yeah.
And Substance has a subscription that's very reasonable.
Yep.
So if you're looking into doing that kind of thing, it's pretty easy to get it.
Really quick, as some housekeeping note, there's some lights out in the studio, so there's work going on. So if you hear a bunch of beeping, that's what it is. It's not a fire alarm. We're okay. Yeah, there you go. Lift going up and down, and
We do evacuate with fire drills.
Yeah.
It has happened.
it has happened. Yeah,
Just
but
happened, right?
It
Yeah.
did,
yeah. There was one time
Demo day,
that we evacuated twice,
Well, weren't we videotaping that day?
and we were videotaping. Yeah, so it was super awesome. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, just so you know, we're safe. It's not nothing crazy. Ziggy, hi Ziggy, good to see you. They said that they're going to watch from Twitter. They say that they currently go to CCAC North, so Community College of Allegheny, and North Campus. There's a gaming course there that is very, very fun.
That's
Yeah.
where I come from.
Excellent.
And they give a great VR lab, and Rebecca,
Yes.
the instructor over
Mhm.
there, she's awesome. So Chris and I have been to visit. They're doing really great things over there.
Very cool. Pittsburgh Joe says Oculus has a research lab in Pittsburgh. Has anyone ever been in there?
I've been there.
Yeah.
So have I.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Cool. So yes.
Probably can't
Yeah. They have in fact been there. And I don't.
NDAs.
Yeah, I don't know if the video has come out yet, but we did. So Schell Games is part of an organization called the Virtual Reality Augmented Reality Association. We're one of the founding companies for the chapter, and we co-hosted a XR summit with Carlo and the director of the Facebook Reality Labs, Yasir Sheikh, spoke about. I believe it's called Mugsy, the machine that they are doing for their photorealistic, animations, all that stuff. If the video goes live with his talk, we'll make sure that we share it on social media. If not, it was a good talk. You should have been there. So it was super awesome. Cool. So we are done with our audience questions. So thank you guys for participating. Any final words that you would like to say to any aspiring game designers or people looking for internships in creative or tech fields as we close?
Apply here. Do it. Just do it.
I love customized cover letters. I read them. It's great when they're customized. Tell a story with your cover letter that I wouldn't otherwise know.
Make yourself stand out.
Yeah, you don't have to include one, but if you do, make it good.
There we go. All right. So we do have a couple events coming up. May 9th, the beginning of Remake Learning Days, we have our spring open house. Please make sure you RSVP. You can go to our website to find the link, or you can go to remakelearningdays.org, and we're one of the first events. And make sure you just RSVP so we know how many people are coming, so we can prepare to make sure we have the best experience possible for you. Other events coming up, Jesse Schell, our CEO, he'll be speaking at the Augmented World Expo towards the end of May. So for if you are able to get out there to see him speak, it's an awesome opportunity for that. And we are currently building our event list for the summer. We have a lot of exciting things coming out, and I hate to leave you with that cliffhanger, but
Stay tuned.
yes, stay tuned. Follow us on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. It's Schell Games. YouTube, it's Schell Games TV. And you could join our Until You Fall Discord, discord.gg/untilyouFall, to see what is going on there, what awesome gifts Yuna and the animation team are putting out there. And you can follow the development of the game, which I think is really cool. Most of the dev team is in the Discord channel, so you could talk directly with them. Next month, we have another exciting dinner with the devs planned with the project team, some of the directors from it, and I'll announce that game once I get that confirmed. And thank you again for joining with us, and we will see you next month. Thank you.